So we did the biographical portrait of Fred Koramatsu, which you can apply to any grade level. You can take and tweak, and it kind of came out of a system of circumstance this year, which we've been very blessed with. So we start off the year with our Clifton Mifflin core lit, and with that we try to build in novels. So the first thing is journeys, and so with that we build in Journey to Topaz. So what you're seeing is some beginning 4th grade work in terms of what's in front of you and this project, but I'll tell you kind of how it evolved and what came out of it, because it really became student inspired, and they were so engaged and excited. It just kept snowballing, and so we'll go from there. In terms of my school, we have about 416 students. 138 of them are English learners. 45% are free and reduced lunch. Last year we had an API of 866, and our English learners were 864.
Whoa.
Our district as a whole at this point is in district improvement. We have a program called Reading Academy to support kids who are struggling, and we have TARI, which is art integration, which has been a godsend because that has brought a lot of what we're doing to what you see today.
What does TARI stand for?
Teacher Action Research Institute. And that we're in the 3rd year this year, and we've been blessed, and they've really provided an incredible resource in terms of artists and strategies, and really integrating art and language together to really deepen kids' understanding. And through that, we were also blessed to have access to coaches at our county office, which allowed us to do some more in-depth work, which you'll see some of the things that came out of that as we go along as well. So our demographics, 35% is Asian, and 26% is Hispanic, which is a large population in our school, followed by African American and Filipino and white, but the majority of the school is Asian and Hispanic. So in my classroom, I have 32 students at this time, 4th grade, self-contained. 2 students were born out of the United States, 16 are first-generation Americans that speak, read, and write another language at home, and 9 additional students engage in another language but aren't necessarily fluent in it. So we started off with, like I said, reading our Journeys theme in our Clifton Mifflin program, and with that, one of the stories is Grandfather's Journey, which is basically a story about a grandfather going back and forth from Japan to California, and during that time we have the atomic bomb that's hit and so forth, and it really puts things out of context. The kids don't really understand it. We read Journey to Topaz, so it goes along with the Journeys theme. So we have a novel that we're reading through it, which is all about Japanese internment camps in California. Now, at the same time this is all happening in September, we had a 9th grade campus also named after Fred Koramatsu, so therefore we had a huge ceremony, which we had Karen Koramatsu, his daughter, and Stan Yogi, a civil rights activist author, and Peter Irons, who was the lawyer who went back to the Supreme Court with Fred Koramatsu. We had access to the 3 of them, so we were able to actually meet with them and interview them, and it was a pretty exciting time. So it kept evolving. So what you're seeing here is, it started off as a Journey to Topaz reflection scrapbook, and it quickly grew because all sorts of things were happening. Obama had just given the presidential award to the 442nd Battalion, and a lot of things were happening all at the same time. So what you see is the scrapbook that kind of came out of this, but in the middle of all that, we did do a focused biographical portrait on Fred Koramatsu. So the objective was for students will be able to clearly articulate the significance of Fred Koramatsu's life and the actions took in connection to the Japanese internment camps. And these were, we had a lot of, there were so many standards, and I didn't want to take a lot of pages and spelling them all out, but it crossed curriculum in terms of the standards that we reached. So with this, last spring, I started to take my curriculum and really look across the curriculum in terms of reading and writing and science and social studies and see what are the themes that keep occurring, what keeps jumping out that I can connect so that I can be more thematic and really strengthen the learning for these kids and raise the bar. And so the themes that came out was journeys, adapting, identity, and justice. So all throughout the year, all of our work have tied into those themes that we've tried to take the kids to make connections, to really look into things deeper. And with that, at the same time, we had studio habits in mind from TARI, which were strategies we used to really help the kids self-reflect on their own learning, reflect on others' learning, and give us a common language that we can use in discussing our learning, to try to take things a little bit further. So those are things and vocabulary that you'll see in the assessments, that you'll see on the work that kind of surface through. So the impact on students' learning and lives, it sustained student engagement, it acquisition of new vocabulary, it demonstrated understanding of causes and consequences of major historical event, learned about American hero and an inspiring voice. They applied grade-level content standards, they increased use of precise language for peer critique, and the power of self-reflection and effort to increase learning. So the pedagogy that we use in terms of relationship, responsibility, respect, and relevance, these were all strategies that were used, that we also received from training from culturally relevant strategies based in LA, that we incorporated in terms of really engaging the students throughout the process. It's not me lecturing and them listening, it's really them engaging and participating and interacting with each other. So there was lots of different strategies that we used during that. Some of them you might recognize, like think, pair, share, my turn, your turn, things like that. And then we also did some additional things in terms of where it says tangible items under relevance, where I actually brought in a bucket of horse poop and had it sit in the room during lunch. And so when they came in, they were like, what's that smell? And I said, okay, just close your eyes and imagine you're walking into a horse stall because you just arrived at the Tanforan stables. So we did a lot of role playing like that. What do you smell? What do you notice? We use your senses. And things like that to give them the realia of what this was like. Because an 8- and 9-year-old at the time, since it was so early in the year, they had no idea, no concept. And so we did as many things as we could to try to really capture their empathy and their understanding. So there was a lot of different things like that we did as much as we could in terms of having them meet people and experience, use all their senses to go through this journey to deepen their learning. So the student work was accumulating art-based activities, connections to artists, developed artistic craft, application of content, and extension of learning. So with this, we did a piece on Pablo Picasso, where we introduced him as an artist, we introduced his work, we did strategies like I see, I think, I wonder, is that the students analyzed his work, and what did they see, what did they think about, what did it make them wonder, what connections can they make? And they, on their own, automatically start saying, oh, that's like Fred Koramatsu, because he was trying to change his identity through his processes. He was trying to evade the evacuations during World War II in the Japanese internment camps. And so they were really excited. So from there, we took off, and they did their artwork, and then from there they had to try to explain and interpret and write out, explain their artwork. And what did it represent? And why did you choose those colors? And what were you trying to show through the different shapes of the faces? And from there, we did character trait analysis, and they built words in terms of things that they thought represented Fred Koramatsu to them. And we looked at Maury Turner, the cartoon artist. We looked at a lot of his cartoons and some political cartoons from newspapers in the past, and we analyzed those. And then they created a cartoon of their own where they could depict either something from his life or something from the events at that time. With a lot of reflection and a lot of discussion going on through it amongst each other as a whole class. So it was very engaging. And every day it was, when do we get to work on that? When do we get to work on that? Which was really great to see these kids that they were getting it. It's complex, for that age group in that time, it's complex material, but they were really, they were getting it. They were having trouble expressing it at times because all of this was new. The through lines with the journey adapting, all of that was new to them. The TARI strategies were new to them. They came from 3rd grade classes that was very, not very engaging, so it was completely new to them. So they did extremely well, given they were intaking so much information so fast at one time. So the assessments, we did quick writes all throughout the process. We had a lot of classroom discussions. They did different charts throughout the process to try to organize their thoughts, and some of them you can see in their work. We did the I see, I think, I wonder, We did artist talk, so afterwards, when they had their artwork done and they did their writing, we put it out on their desk for a gallery walk where students were able to read and leave Post-it notes with comments of what do they see, what do they think, what do they wonder, and we could have these discussions after. Of, well, why did you put that there? And why did that make you think that? Because mine, I thought about this, and so it was really enriching. We did sentence starters, we did self-reflection sheets on the back of these that you will see as well. And because of the material that they learned, they were so passionate about it. Their work was actually published in a teaching guide. And then from there, they were actually able to go to the National History Day competition with what they had learned. And they won for our county and were able to go on to state, which they were so proud of themselves. So proud of themselves. And I was very proud of them as well. And so it started from some simple artwork and really translating that into much deeper meaning and a lot of reading and a lot of writing, and they were completely engaged through the whole process. So, I guess, I know I'm talking fast, so I apologize. I am nervous. I'll tell you all right now, I'm very nervous. But, so the questions that kind of came to my mind as you're looking at the artwork and as you're looking through the things is, do you see an application of learning, the content and connection to the artwork? What can you tell about the student and their learning from their self-reflection? And how could you apply this activity to the work that you do? And I'll leave it at that. Yes?
2 questions. One question is, you say we. How many other teachers were involved with this with you?
I had there's another 4th grade class, and the teacher was brand new to the grade level. So bless her heart, she, look what this, we're going to do this next, and she was just so great, equally as excited. We jumped in together, so.
And the other question is, I'm sorry that I'm not really seeing the Picasso connection. Can you clarify what made you choose Picasso and what the connection there is?
Well, when we started to look at Picasso, the kids started looking at it dimensionally. So they started seeing where he had different faces, and they started to think about Fred Koramatsu when he went to get plastic surgery because he was trying to pass as a white man so he can evade evacuation.
So you just, I'm sorry, so you just happened to be looking at Picasso at the same time?
No, the other teacher and I decided to pull it out and use it as an example as an artist, and we just put it in front of the kids to see where they would take it. And we were just analyzing it. What do you see? What do you think? What do you wonder? Talking about the artist. And they kind of went there on their own. And so it was interesting because when Karen Koramatsu saw these, she was really excited. And she said her father was an artist and loved artwork. And he would have loved to have seen these, unfortunately, if he was still alive. But the kids, we were just doing an art piece introducing artists at the beginning of the school year, and they kind of made the connection, so we ran with it.
I see. Thank you.
At your school, this is a great arts integration project. Are you planning to pursue more of those, or are you still hooked into the Tari stuff, and what are your plans as you're moving forward?
Tari, as we know it as of right now, this is our 3rd year and it's ending. And I'm definitely, this is my 14th year teaching, and I've seen the gamut from where we did art and crafts and with everything to no, don't do that, where improvement, no, just reading and writing, to now it's okay, but taken to another level where it's research-based and it's got a lot of thought behind it, and it's far different, and I've seen such an amazing transformation in my kids over the last 3 years, and I've seen it in our test scores as well. And so, and just watching, I had parents this year come up to me and say, my kids hated school. They can't wait to get here this year. Like they really, it's made a difference in how they feel about themselves, how they are progressing, how they're engaged. It's made an incredible difference. So I definitely, I'm someone that likes to change things up from every year, but the art integration is definitely, it's so crucial. And the analyzing piece of it is really important, of going and having them reflect and connecting it. And why did we learn that? Why was that so important and so forth?
I would encourage you to write that up, because I think in the world of arts education, one of the problems that we have from the classroom level is that there are good things like this going on everywhere, and A, except for forums like this, no one knows it, and B, it's not presented in a way that it resonates with administration and above at the policy level. I mean, we've got, clearly you've got the data numbers from standardized testing at your school, but to connect them to what's going on now compared to what was there before and writing it up so that it's published and people see it, I think that would make a huge improvement.
So just for a little bit more context, Heather is an amazing teacher in a set of teachers who come from all the elementary schools in San Leandro who've been participating in this work. And the principals have also been involved. So we actually have coaches who've linked the principal observations that they do in the classroom that initially were really focused on issues of equity. They're now looking at how arts integration is providing challenging ways to improve every child's education. And so as we're coming to the end of a 3-year grant period, we're in a conversation with administrators and district leadership about how is this transforming how we see we should be teaching in our classrooms. And the idea of the Teacher Action Research Institute is that it's district-wide in San Leandro. There are other schools involved throughout our region and teachers, but that we're moving towards a regional Teacher Action Research Institute. And the big idea is that teachers like Heather present their work. So this summer, Heather and all of her colleagues are going to be presenting their work at Mills College. So we're really working to get teachers to not just do good practice in their classrooms, but to make it public for new audiences to think about policy change.
So as we moved on, the next theme in Hoofton Mifflin was American Stories. So we did this whole thing with the kids and their own stories, and we tied it in to, and then from there we go to biographies. So then we just kind of kept building that in. And then we had the county office and AC Transit did a Freedom Bus art exhibit and competition around the 55th anniversary of Rosa Parks getting up from her seat. And so we did a whole art project around that, which the theme for that was the power of one inspires change for all. So then that became the whole theme for this whole incredible scrapbooks and suitcases that we did over here, which then the kids were so excited about what they learned that they really wanted to do more with it. So from there, the groups and pods picked people that they felt, and Fred Koramatsu was one of them, that they felt that our students at our school should really know that they might not have heard about. And they wrote this play. And so with that, they started bringing songs. And so from the songs, we're breaking those down, and we're interpreting the lyrics and the language and making things with that. And they're putting on this entire play for the school now, which is called The Power of One. And the way that they ended it, Michelle's in here. And with that, when we got to Martin Luther King, and it was like, okay, they didn't really understand that. And so it's like, well, let's go back and look at that. So the whole civil rights movement thing came out of that. And it just kept growing. But in the end, so they did a write-up on the power of one in terms of how all these people have affected change. But that at the end of the day, anybody can affect change. And they keep going back to Fred Koramatsu, if you're not afraid to speak up. And so it just kept evolving, and they wanted more, and they were just thirsty for it. And so we kept going. So they've got all, I mean, it's just, and all this ties in our reading, our curriculum, it ties in the additional novels that we bring in. It ties in themselves, so a lot of their own connections are written in here, a lot of themselves, and so they started these scrapbooks. We had the Watsons go to Birmingham and talked about all of that.